the plan that we're talking about. That's in this year's budget. It is not in next year's budget. So if you could move on to the rest of the submission.
Okay, well anyway, that's my view there on the sale of it. I think you're very foolish there. The other thing though is information provided.
Oh, thank you.
I'm not privy to what the staff have advised you in public excluded meetings, but when I happened to see earlier this year Councillor Goff's Facebook page, and he had some very serious concerns.
I believe everything on Facebook.
The auditors categorically said that they would be unable to sign off the council's budget, long-term plan LTP, unless we could point to a tangible asset sale process. I actually wrote to your auditor, Julian Tadd, and he passed it on to the Office of the Auditor General. And I've got there the letter I sent to him, which he passed on, and also their reply there concerning all of that. I have also written to the council and asked what information was given to the councillors, and I checked yesterday to see what was happening there, and they informed me that they will be waiting for the 20-day to expire before they release that, which happens to be Monday. So I can't tell you what they're going to tell me.
Madam Mayor, I'm sorry, Lindsay, for interrupting, but just a respectful point of order. He has lodged an OIA of which the staff are complying with, and they're supplying that information for him that he seeks, and that's all fine. But again, this isn't related to the annual plan. This has got nothing to do with the 16-17 annual plan.
You've got the auditor's reply here, which is perfectly clear. Which it says that if the auditor felt the council's approach to financial management was unreasonable, he would have commented on this in the relevant audit report. The approach taken by the council in this case, the sale of assets, is a policy matter for the council to make. The auditor does not comment on the merits of that policy. It's not the point that Jamie was making in his post. What Jamie was saying was that unless you can point to the tangible amount coming into the council's budget, the only way you can do that is to look at the value of the assets. Great. And the only way you can guarantee that you can release capital from those assets is through the value of their shares. So what Jamie said is correct, and what the Auditor General said is correct as well. So it was a policy decision we made, but as you can see from the budget that we have put forward this time, we are absolutely positive that we won't have to release any capital by way of selling shares in our strategic assets.
Okay, well anyway, I'm just quite concerned over what staff were telling you there.
Yeah,
I do have those
Raf,
concerns.
you had a question.
I just want to know where the $200 million sell price came from. I was quite excited about that.
No.
Something I don't
Sorry,
know.
I didn't realise you were being naughty. So, Lindsay, carry on.
Question on the submission. That's
well, as I say there, you know.
No, but I've already said the submission's actually out of order as far as referring to City Care goes. So, but I thought that it was worthwhile saying that both Jamie and the auditor are correct in what they've said, but that's because they're talking about two different approaches and their different responsibilities. So carry on.
Well, that's really just about it there, but I've got there. It's just that the staff seem to have a fairly single-minded view on this, and that it's the sale of these particular assets.
No. If you read the financial strategy, and it's the new financial strategy that we're consulting on now, yeah. And it says that it doesn't. We are looking at alternative ways of making capital available in terms of the capital release, other than selling shares on our strategic assets.
Well, I still think that there's a bit of a smoke and mirrors attitude going on in there when you're having these meetings. With what Councillor Goff said on his Facebook page was quite concerning.
No, with respect, Madam Mayor,
it is a friendly way of describing what is technically correct. So it is not a technical document. It would never have been written by an auditor. I probably wouldn't have written it that way myself. But it's the truth of it is that what Jamie says is correct and what the auditor says is correct as well. But we are absolutely confident that we are not going to be requiring to sell assets, shares in our strategic assets in order to meet our capital release obligations, which are now significantly lower than what they were a year ago, before we got our global insurance settlement and before we started to review in great detail our capital program.
We're going to run out of time.
All right, well, I'll leave that then, to put that to one side then, but I do have concerns about what goes on in some of these public excluded meetings. There is one other issue I would like to raise. I didn't actually put it in the submission, but I would like to just mention it. That is that you may all be aware that I've been involved in the proposed new district plan to do with saving Christchurch's notable and heritage trees. Now, I'm not going to go into any proposed wording about that, but in doing so, with a group of people, we've been having to raise funds to pay for experts, witnesses and lawyers' fees and all that, and these things do not come cheap. I would like to put to you a request that the council establish a community planning fund. The community groups and residents associations can apply to for funding to participate in district planning processes, so that they can then access expert witnesses and lawyers as required in order to participate in them. That's just a suggestion. I would like to see something like that done, because it's extremely difficult to go fundraising for these issues when they come up. This one's costing well over $30,000 we've had to fundraise.
Thank you very much, and you've just got to 0000, and the staff will make a note of that, because that wasn't included in your submission, so we'll make a note of that.
I have got it here on another piece of paper.
Well, that's fine. If you could hand that over to staff afterwards. Could I invite Kathy Norris? Morris or Norris?
Oh, no, sorry, it's the gentleman on the top of that page.
Oh, sorry, Jim Dubkowski.
Good Irish name.
Sorry, I thought you were with the group after you, so I grouped you, and when they said they'd gone, I'd assumed you'd gone as well, so I do apologise.
It was too riveting to leave.
You haven't got a written submission in for us, have you?
That is correct. No.
So this is you're actually genuinely here as your last ditch.
It is my last
Yay!
name.
Yay.
So, complying with the agenda. My name is Jim Dubkowski, and I'm representing Canterbury Baseball here today. I appreciate Yanni's encouragement to speak in front of the council and ask that the council investigate ways we can support baseball in Christchurch as part of the amended annual plan. Baseball has grown from 600 to 6,000 in New Zealand over the last 5 years across Auckland, Taronga, Wellington, and Christchurch. In Christchurch, we've gone from 2 teams of about 20 kids 4 years ago in 2012 to 12 teams this last year across 4 leagues encompassing 170 kids and adults. So it's really, really expanding at a very quick rate. Through open days and demonstration exhibits at events like the Cultural Festival and working with primary schools throughout Christchurch, at an early age, we anticipate that membership will more than double in 2016. We currently have only 2 proper baseball diamonds, both located at Avonhead Park, that are in high demand for both practices and games, and they require significant maintenance and upkeep to keep them in a playable condition. We need safe, convenient fields for all kids to play at. We're looking to expand possibly to the east. We've met with staff at QE2 to discuss options there, who is very favorable in supporting the location. Now it's just a matter of trying to work with the city to develop the plan and the funding for it. We're supported by New Zealand Baseball and Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball has provided camps and coaches to come to Christchurch and train children and folks of all ages for no cost. They've provided access to their maintenance staff to give recommendations on how to keep up and maintain fields, as well as establish new fields. In September, an ex-Major League pitcher, DJ Caruso, will be here for a 6-month assignment to help spread baseball throughout Christchurch. Baseball gives back to the local community in many ways. We have significant exposure at the New Zealand-wide and international level. Across Japan, every 2 years, there's 5 Kiwis that are selected to go over for free week-long training, all expenses paid. There are international tournaments, such as the Cal Ripken tournament in the U.S. this year, where last year we had 1 player from Christchurch attend. This year there are 3 players attending, as well as other tournaments in Australia and other countries. What we're looking at in the future is we're seeing the rise in college scholarships for Kiwi players to go abroad, as well as getting additional major league exposure, and the number of Kiwis playing at that level professionally, both in the U.S. and Japan and other countries around the world, is great. We also understand that it's going to be back in the Olympics in 2020, and I'm sure New Zealand will be key to have a team in there. So baseball is dramatically growing across New Zealand, and we want to be a leader in its growth. Canterbury Baseball asked that the council investigate support for baseball in Christchurch. We are eagerly working with council and park staff to gain a better understanding of the processes, showcase baseball's growth at all levels. We look forward to working with the council during this exciting time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And because you haven't put in a written submission, we'll make sure that that is included as part of the submission process, and a response will be given as part of our deliberation.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kathy Morris. Is she not? She's not. Mark Gerard, come forward. Yeah.
What page are we up to?
801.
Thank you.
Councillors and Mayor, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to make the submission. Just in passing, we'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the recent passing of Neil Carey, who many will be aware was a long-time member of the Christchurch Heritage team in its previous incarnations, as well as his expertise as an architect. He was also involved in the council's urban design initiatives. Historic Places Canterbury also wishes to acknowledge the professionalism and dedication of the Christchurch City Council Heritage team and ask that you pass on our appreciation of their endeavours. In addition, I realise this probably passes from governance to management. We are aware, and it is our perception, and we have practised to some degree self-restraint because we are aware that the Heritage team is flat out. And so in some cases we practice self-restraint in dealing with them because we realise they are busy with district plan, new Regent Street, special projects, etc. And we think it would be appropriate maybe to review their funding just to ensure they can maintain contact, etc. But we realise they're really, really busy. And they've been cooperative and professional, but they are really busy. And perhaps the funding should reflect that. We'd also briefly, we'll skip through this one, is that we should remind of our list of the number of buildings that the council has been involved in the retention of a number of heritage buildings in the central city and further afield. Scarty, you've got an example today, Duncan's buildings, Mona Vale, Evans Clock Tower, Sanataki, etc., Isaac Theatre Royal, the council loan. And I think you'll agree it's a fantastic return for the amount of money that you have expended on those buildings and in the contribution to the city and the feeling of feel good of having them back. And we did point out that we think that, and we'd be obliged to say this, that 60 cents and $100 and 28 cents a week is really a small amount considering the bang for the buck that you get in return. Yeah. Related to this, we are, and I realise that particularly this year, we actually request that you actually put more publicity into the heritage that you're repairing this year. I realise we've got a major PR component communications team. We think you're underselling yourselves and the heritage. It's a very commendable list of repairs and restoration you're embarking on this year and the year after. And it would be great if we got a chance to celebrate at the Gowtie. It's just one of those buildings that the community's going to love to bring back. So I realise asking council for more publicity is self-evident. Next up, parks and open spaces. The reason for this submission is relatively straightforward. As you may recall, there was a slight public disturbance over Victoria Square. And one of the questions I asked right at the beginning of the deputation was, had this space been assessed for its heritage or potential heritage, its contribution to landscape architecture and urban design? And I still haven't had an answer on that. And maybe there are some of the parks within the council that aren't listed as heritage parks, some of the spaces, etc., that might qualify or at their time were innovative and we've missed out and they've been altered accordingly. So we ask, I noticed that on what's classified as parks and open spaces, heritage has moved quite a bit to make sure we've got that assessment just in case there's something special we may miss that might be valuable that we didn't realise, like Victoria Square. And I think it's an important question to ask. And maybe work done could be faithful to its original design. Next up, we've got We've got, it requires a Latham and Cranmer Square were designed as passive spaces, so we just ask that they be retained as they are. Every now and then there's a proposal come through, maybe we should modernise. We think they're great spaces and they reflect the original layout of the city, and it's an opportune time to retain them. Next up, the Canterbury Museum capital grants taken from the long-term plan. We understand that the capital grant is to commence for the Canterbury Museum redevelopment for this year and the following 2 years. This year's grant is $6,286,000. My apologies, I'll leave it for zero. We'd like to submit that before the grants are released to the Canterbury Museum, the proposed redevelopment should have been through a meaningful consultation, which should be signed off by the council. We'd also like to remind the council that according to the Environment Court decision in Canterbury Museum Trust Board versus Christchurch City Council, the museum is bound to consult with the parties to the decision, including the Christchurch Civic Trust. So we ask that before you release fundings that you be aware and what the development plan has been fully consulted and been through the process, etc. One is a paper item, the Historic Buildings Fund. We ask that you increase that. We don't, with the Landmark Fund no longer becoming available, and this is a sort of just-in-case fund, and it effectively is a paper figure that may be required just in case, that amount set aside probably could be adjusted upwards, so it may be used to save a heritage commercial building that may be at risk. And the other one is, I don't think I can be accused of conflict of interest since I no longer are working there, but we'd ask the old municipal chambers known at our city if it's possible to be advanced in its repair and restoration, and remind the councillors that as it functioned as our city, it was a major community asset. And I was reminded the other day of one of the embroidery groups, and they're existing in the suburbs. There's nowhere for them to exhibit in the central city, exhibitions or hold meetings, etc. That some of the institutions that are available in the museum are subject to scheduling as well, and there's pressure on that, as well as a space that's available for the community.
Sorry, I'm gonna have to
I'll
do
finish this one and that'll be it.
Yeah.
And it's also important, it's part of the Anchor project and part of the Avon River Anchor project, etc., and it will bring people into the central city. So we just consider that. And the only point I would make is we've got a submission of the annual plan process. I will follow up on that one, but the communication would be fair to say I'd had no idea what had happened turning up today until I turned up. I had a number of phone calls and time on the phone. I couldn't get a clear picture of how the process was going to work. So I would ask that you review it. Thank you very much.
That's lovely. Thank you. Thanks very much. Rick Tyndall, representing Christchurch Estuary Association.
809.
Page 809 on your submission.
All good to go?
Yep.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and councillors, Chief Executive and council staff. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you today. I'm here representing the Christchurch Estuary Association, not to be confused with the Avon Heathcote Estuary Ihutai Trust. The Estuary Association was one of the contributing groups to the formation of the trust, and it is an agglomeration of water sports user groups and residents groups, and it ticks along with a little bit of help from the council, so thank you for that in particular. So we're talking about the proposed capital program detailed by activity chapter. I'll just my apologies from Mrs. Sandra Sim, the secretary of the association. She was here but had to leave. So on page 78, the Estuary Edge project, we're pleased to see $51,000 set aside to begin the construction of a pathway from Linwood Paddocks to Bridge Street between the Estuary Edge and the wastewater treatment ponds. We would like to see this project fast-tracked to provide a basic track to allow public access on foot rather than wait for years for a coastal pathway level of construction to be financially possible. Monitoring how well the path is used in its basic state would give the council an indication when or if to prioritise an upgrade. In the meantime, thousands of walkers would have the pleasure of using it. On page 84, the Avon Stormwater Management Plan, waterways, detention and treatment facilities, and also on page 84, the Heathcote and Estuary and Coast Stormwater Management Program. We look forward to the provision of detention basins as outlined in this project, which hopefully will allow improvements in the hydrology and drainage on the Avon and Heathcote rivers, which are badly needed to improve water quality, particularly for recreational users both on the river and further downstream in the estuary. It would lead to a win-win solution if the design of a stormwater basin in the eastern suburbs red zone around Horseshoe Lake, including the assistance in the drainage of the Flockton Basin, Darlington area, could be done in such a way as to be able to incorporate the layout of a flat water sports lake, such as that envisioned by the East Lake trustees. No time frame has been given. How soon can residents expect to see results on that lake proposal? And how will the concept of a flat water sports lake integrate into the Avon Stormwater Management Plan? No mention has been made of dredging the Avon to improve flow and bring it back to pre-earthquake levels. If the bank edges are allowed to naturalise, will this reduce river flow and accumulate rubbish? And does the naturalisation of the Avon River, which seems to be the current state or direction of it, imply or not imply that the East Lake must be built to secure the future of rowing sports in Canterbury, where the history of achievements have been so strong? Page 85, the Coastal Pathway Project. We're disappointed the completion of this project will be delayed, but appreciate the progress that has already been achieved thanks to such a strong community involvement. Page 87, Cobb Cottage. We support repair of Cobb Cottage under the Community Facilities Heritage Rebuild Unit. Page 89, South New Brighton Boardwalk, South New Brighton Car Park Driveway and Tracks, South New Brighton Jetty and earthquake repairs. We're delighted to see these small cosmetic repairs being included in the annual plan, but would like to see the Council's commitment to flood protection and replacing stop banks along the eroding estuary edge from South Brighton Bridge to South Shore. Many local residents feel abandoned and unsafe due to the emergency stop banks eroding. How many more observations, measurements and discussion are needed before at least short-term interventions to mitigate the erosion of the stop banks are in place? This would give a breathing space while the longer-term estuary edge master plan can be prepared and implemented. And I have to mention the tidal barrier on which our association submitted in favour of further research, and I'm sure, I don't know whether the Mayor didn't read the correspondence that her department asked us for, or chose to contradict what it said in saying that the Estuary Association and the Estuary Trust both opposed the tidal barrier project exploration, because we did not, we supported it.
I think I resolved that at the time. No time for questions, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
I was going to ask you one, but I won't know. The Ross Johnson. Sorry that I made a mistake. Advice that I had.
You start now?
Yes, please.
Oh, great. I haven't got any forms to give all you folks.
That's all right.
But, I'm another one of those people that just pop along.
But that's what we wanted. This is what we wanted the session to be. So you're actually giving us exactly what we set the session up for.
I didn't realise that this was on until about 3/4 of an hour before a meeting. I said, wow, I'm going.
Good on
now
you.
I can meet all you councillors. I've seen you on the TV and the radio and whatever.
Hey.
Hi.
We like you even more.
Thank you. And I can remember last time I saw you, Leanne, I was at Brighton. You were a member of Parliament at the time.
Yeah.
And I came to see you about the road user charges.
That's right.
That's right, remember that?
Yes, I do.
Great. That's why I'm here now. I do get myself on TV now and again, so we'll leave that for
You're
time
on
being.
now, by the way.
Really?
Live streamed.
Right, thank you. Look, I'm on the eastern side of Christchurch here, and the 2 or 3 little issues I'd like to sort of discuss to all you people, wonderful people. Kiwi 2. Now, I back onto Kiwi 2 with a lot of other members of the public there, and why is the council allowing the land, or hoping that the land can be sold to the to the government for the schools when there was a clause apparently in the archives saying that this land was not to be sold because of that when the New Brighton Trotting Club, when they gave it to the council, they could use it as a recreational park for all of Christchurch. But now, I went to a meeting with the school headmasters and the government in Shirley, and they said that they said, well, the reason why we want to pick that part of the park is because the ground's more solid than the golf course, where the golf course was, because it take too much to remedy and more cost. And also the asbestos saga. I believe that the council must have come up with the price to remove the asbestos to about $13 or $14 million, when I've heard that private contractor put a price in and it was only half that. And why do they want to sort of just leave it there or leave it in a big hump, or I think bury it? And it could be cheaper to take it away to Kate Shepherd and dump it there. That's another little issue.
Billy.
It's all right,
Kate,
it's all right.
That's right, yeah, sorry, Kate. What do I say?
Kate Shepherd.
Oh, sorry, Kate Bell.
It's okay.
I don't want to continue.
Sorry.
Still awake.
Now, also, the Freedom Camping Act. It seems to be a bit of a mess at the moment. Now, I visited New Brighton quite often, and I went down to the wind service, and I watched these freedom campers. Now, a lot of them were pretty good. Most of them were pretty good. I literally went down there one day to say hello to them, and I'd tell them to put your rubbish away, things like this. But I saw a member of the general public go down there with a van, open up his van, and dump 10 big black rubbish bags right where the recycling part was. The freedom campers didn't do it. It was the member of the general public. They were the Christchurch people. So they gave the freedom campers a bad name. I'm a camper too. I've got a self-contained motorhome, just to be about to be put on the road. I'm responsible. I've been training a lot of these freedom campers out there. They are an asset to the city. They're bringing hundreds and thousands of dollars in. The New Brighton, they went to the service station, the hotels, the bottle stores. They didn't drink that much, and they went to the what do you call it? The supermarket. Now that's okay. Now another thing is that why does it take so long for the roadworks in the Brighton area to be done? Half the time the workers aren't there and the roads are blocked off. It's very, very confusing and also frustrating. And also, why are the buses, the big buses, even at weekends, big trailing axle jobs, no one in them, thundering down the road, past our houses, the whole house shakes like a magnitude 4 earthquake. I woke up 4 o'clock one morning and I heard this bang. A big bus was going down the road and he hit this bump and blew the windows out. I've got literally still got the frames in my backyard when the windows just completely disintegrated. Now, I know the council want to take over the running of the transport system instead of e-cans. Is that correct?
Correct. Well, I do. Yeah.
Wow, good. Thank you, Leanne.
We all do.
E-cans rang me the other day and they asked me about this. They want me to write a submission on the email to say about how these buses were thundering down the road over the bumps and blowing the windows out. This might be a good opportunity for the council to hone in on this. You go, wow, well, let's take it over.
Very good.
And look, I had these other few little issues too, but I'm right out of time. Other people have to be heard. And thank you so much for listening to me. I'm in my rag bags, my weekend rag bags. I would have probably come a little bit more tidied up, but hey, we're only human, aren't we?
Fantastic.
Thank you once again.
Thank you very much. That was wonderful. That was wonderful. Drusilla Kingy Patterson. Page 81 on your submissions.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
As many of you may not know, I'm actually dyslexic. So I actually hate doing this type of thing. You might think I do, but I absolutely hate it. Okay, so the process for everybody is different, and that's maybe why some people are better one-to-one. I'm better one-to-one. Okay, I'm going to be quick. Rubbish. How can you market our city clean and green with high littering and businesses are allowed to leave rubbish and bags on footpaths. Pita Pita, Hereford Street, has open cut tins and glass and bags on the footpath. You walk down there. They're there in the morning. When I start at 6 in the morning, they're there in the afternoon. Okay? And if somebody turned around and fell over, they would cut themselves. But it's not just there. I've seen them at Cathedral Junction. We're trying to market our city. Residents have bins. I can't see why businesses can't. Those little ones, just so that it looks tidy and clean, they can put their bins out. But bags, no way. Cathedral yeah. The consenting process for big projects, as you know, I work in the construction industry. This is my personal feelings, having done my trade, unfortunately, in 1984. Right. So the consenting process for big projects too long will jeopardise employment and training. The next few months, teams of construction workers will be leaving to work in Wellington and Auckland. A lot of these guys have already been here 3 or 4 years. You're going to have a real big problem. Why would anybody want to work in Christchurch? That is really going to be how you market the city. Now, the thing is, they can get paid more and some of them can get treated better in Wellington and Auckland. A lot of them have families. The second building of the Castle Street, all the guys, all the steel, everything came from Taranaki. All the windows have all been done by guys from Wellington. So with Sarah kind of, closing and then you guys getting into the next process, plus the elections, I lose my job in November. My son lost his job last week, Dick Smith's. That's the reality. So people will not be able to wait, and this is why we need collaboration, everybody working together. But I just needed to highlight that so you guys were aware, okay? The biggest problem I see is the closure and relocation of Quake City, 2017, and the closure and repair of Canterbury Museum at a later date. As you may be aware, I'm an event organiser. 700,000 visitors are expected this year. What I noticed, I went down to New Regent Street the other day, talked to one of the owners, because I'm organising my Art Deco festival. He might go bankrupt, so he's moving out. I don't want to see that. That's really sad. Beggars, we need a permit system. Valentine spent thousands of dollars on their fashion show, 2015, only to have a professional beggar camp along the red carpet. I saw him go from the top end of Hereford Street. I work sometimes 4 in the morning, 6 in the morning. I know that he did not sleep on that street. He's doing it now, but he went up from Hereford Street or somewhere. They come out with their beautiful carpet. They had done all the work, and he goes and parks himself right there. That made me really angry. When we used to do fundraising at Rangiora New World, they had a book. You had to go and get permission. It didn't cost money to be able to use that space. It's just a natural courtesy, and it really annoyed me because Ballantyne's is one of my favourite shops. And if they spend all that money, why should somebody? It's like pushing themselves on them. And I just walked down the street coming down here. I mean, I know all those guys, but some of them are actually, it kind of puts you off wanting to go and do your shopping and intimidating, and we need to sort that out. And it doesn't look good for our image. I am organising an Art Deco Festival 2016, starting at the Nova Hotel, New Regent Street. I'm now confirmed I will be doing it in November. I'm also doing a hidden history event, hopefully with Becca Heritage Week, Labour Weekend. And we're going to put on a display of Cape Valley, the Lancaster Park, Kuritu site, the Royal Dolls. We need buses going to Rana Park.
Thanks, just that that's...
I'm getting near the end.
Well, no, you are at the end because we've had to agree that everyone sticks to the 5 minutes so that we can hear everyone else before people have to leave.
Well, okay, but I've got to say this because it wasn't in my thing, is I'm pushing for and I've already doing the planning for a new pool in Brighton, 31 million, and a new cinema for Brighton, 45 to 65 million, and I'm pushing for the T. Maori exposition to come to Christchurch.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Drusilla.